welcome. It is Thursday, February 23rd, and we are so excited because this weekend we have a big auction coming up.
Can't wait.
It is actually the final chapter of the Paul Germain collection, and it's going to be over 600 lots. There are various manufacturers. It features a lot of new Britons, but they're not the only manufacturer. There's a little bit for everyone. But in addition to those, there are also some old Britons and some really, really nice trophy lots that I'd like to mention. As far as, we don't have them physically here, so I just want to mention them, but some of the older Britain set that we have that's worth taking a look at online is the Changing of the Guard, set 1555. And also there's a really, really beautiful trophy staff car. So you should definitely jump on and check them out. Beautiful examples. But with that being said, we're going to go into a little bit of history because this auction features so many new Britons. I thought
it'd be a good opportunity to sort of talk about the company a little bit. Britons is by far the biggest soldier manufacturer in the world. They started in 1893, and they're still producing today. They've gone through a number of incarnations and ownership, but they still produce one of the best figures out there. And just to sort of give you a little brief history, Bree, they're called Britons, and a lot of people think they're named after the country, Great Britain. But actually they're named after William Britain Jr. So that was his last name. He happened to be from the country of Britain, where the confusion comes from. But he founded the company. They produced great figures. His son took over when William Britain Sr. passed away, I think in the 30s, around 1933. And again, now they're still producing today. So they started with lead figures, lead hollow cast. Okay. And that's what really allowed them to sort of dominate the toy market, is they figured out a way to make a figure, a high quality figure, using less material than a solid cast figure because it's just a hollow shell, which saved on material costs and on shipping. And they really were the predominant manufacturer up before World War I, through World War I, or right after, up until World War II. And they really didn't have a lot of competition or significant competition until after World War II. In 1953, the Herald line started, and that was their venture into plastic figures. And that sort of started to switch the transition over. And then in 57, they came out with the Detail line, which was another plastic figure, and they were on a die-cast base. Britain's manufactured in downtown London, central London, almost for 100 years. They were 1 year short of making 100 years.
Of course. Isn't that how it always is? 99.
I couldn't quite do it. 99 years. And then they were bought by an English company, which moved them outside of the city to a town named Nottingham, I believe. They manufactured there for a period of time, and then they were sold to a company called Erdl Europe, which made like die-cast cars and things like that. That company was then sold to, it's called Racing Champions, which was a company that does like those die-cast cars for NASCAR.
Oh wow, that's cool.
So they make a lot of those kind of sort
Talk
of
about a 180
souvenir things. And again, they were sort of looking at trying to incorporate their soldiers more as a souvenir into gift shops and things of that nature. Very nice figures. Then they were bought and sold in, I think, 2005 to a company called First Gear, which was in Iowa. All the time making a very nice, high-quality figure. But there wasn't a lot of consistency. So as you're going to see, what we're going to sort of show here is how there are a lot of different series that Britons got into after 1973. That's when they sort of reintroduced their lead line, or a metal line. It really wasn't made out of lead. It's made out of like a zinc alloy. And they started in 1973. They didn't do a whole lot with it. And then in 1983, they started to produce more metal figures that were sort of geared to collectors. And they made some very nice product, again, up through today. There's a great book.
Yes, we do have a book. This is Norman Joplin's Britain's New Toy Soldiers, which we have available. So if you are interested, a lot of the information that we're going over here is in this book. So it's definitely a great read.
Yeah, it really is a very comprehensive book on figures made after 1973.
It is.
And so why don't we get into it, Bree, and I'll sort of show you some of the things, what they did after 1973, and especially after World War II, going into fields that the traditional Britons, what we call traditional Britons, really didn't do a whole lot with. Now this figure was released in 1995.
Yes, this is...
It's part of WBritain.
Betsy Ross here, and she has a really, really nice little cloth flag there.
What I think's neat on this one is how the figure's made of a metal alloy, but they actually applied a cloth flag to it, which really gives it a nice detail. How many stars are on there, Brie?
There are 13 stars on Miss Betsy Ross. And for the 13 colonies. So, I don't know if anyone, that reminds me, I don't know if anyone has ever heard this song, but we sang it like a broken record in elementary school.
What song's that?
50 Nifty United States. You ever heard of it?
I have not.
But anyway, so that's Betsy, and she made the first American flag, if you did not know. And she also was a woman of many husbands. She was married 3 times.
She was?
And so if you don't know her as Betsy Ross, she also went as Betsy Ashburn and Betsy Claypole. So just a little Betsy Ross trivia for you.
Didn't she marry the friend of her husband's who met him in jail and then he later died? Something like that?
She did. It was a very, very bizarre story. And she actually became the woman to sew the flag because her and her first husband, John Ross, started an upholstery company. And what they did was they started by sewing military uniforms, or fixing them rather, in tents and blankets for the colonial army. And that George Washington was obviously then, became the head of, and she knew him because he was in her inner circle, and that's how she became the woman who made the first flag.
The rest was history.
Yes.
That was very little interesting history lesson. I enjoyed our song tremendously.
Oh,
so again,
man.
now that's sort of mid-90s production of William Britain's, or WBritain. Now another thing that we have in this auction, these are called the Premier Series. Okay, which are also WBritain. This is another one of their series that produced. And it says on the box here, created by Charles Biggs, B-I-G-G-S. Charles Biggs was a famous, and is a famous designer for Britons that produced a lot of their great figures in the 50s and 60s. And he was commissioned in the 90s by Britons to sort of come up with a premier line of toy soldiers. That was sort of to compete with, when Britons got out of the whole metal toy soldier market in 1966, that let other companies sort of like Trophy and Blenheim, some of these other companies, they sort of picked up this little slack, and they were then producing figures, very high quality figures. And in the Trophy figures, you'll see that, beautiful, beautiful figures. So Britons realized there was a market there, and they wanted to compete with it. So they produced this the Premier line, yes, by Charles Biggs.
And this is lot 218, and by the way, Betsy Ross was lot 55, so in case you're looking for them in this weekend. But this one comes with the gun, and then it also comes with the 4 figures. And this Premier series of Britons, we've actually had very great success with. They're one of the most popular series of Britons at the moment.
It was their their high-end line. And sort of what it did denote a lot of, at this period especially, Britons moved away more from the static infantry marching, standing on guard, standing firing, to more dynamic poses. For example, this gentleman here, he's actually fits onto the wheel of this gun. I don't know if you can see that. And, he's actually trying to help the gun along.
He hooks onto it. So they were kind of, like Ray's saying, really more interactive. I don't know if you can see, let me stand up, but see his little hand, how it actually has a hook to it. So a lot of the figures are like that. So it's not so much that you would just set them up next to each other. They're literally set up more like an entire scene for display.
Yeah, they I think became more cognizant of how people played with their soldiers and displayed them. And yes, soldier lovers, we love to line up our soldiers in rows, but it is also to sort of make nice interactive scenes. Artillery pieces is being the case here. So
that's a really nice set. Like I said, lot 218.
218. So that was the Premier series. Along the sort of the same line, they had these beautiful circus figures.
I like these guys.
Really like this.
So we have some of these circus figures. This is, we'll call him Bozo the Clown. I like them. He has some flowers.
There's the strong man.
The strong
this
man.
strong man.
He's carrying 2 tons.
2 tons, the weight of the world on him.
He is. But they're just really cute little figures. And I mean, their patina on them is absolutely beautiful, but it should be because these were made in 1997. So it's really what you would expect. I mean, we would call these figures minty. Their boxes are minty. Everything about them is minty. That's really the way that all of these series of Britons are collected. So if you really don't find them in this minty type of condition, they're really, as of right now, not carrying that much value. So these are the ones
The boxes help tremendously.
Yes.
And what's great about the Circus set is it comes in a huge box.
It's really big,
it's
actually.
Oh, you have the lid there?
I do have the lid. Give me one moment. Ugh, it's quite a big set. So this is the lid. Super colorful and fun. It's like a big poster. And it also comes with trapeze artists. It comes with a cardboard tent that you can build, equestrians, and a lion tamer.
Oh, my favorite, the lion tamer. Lion tamer. I didn't pull that, but I wanted to be a lion tamer when I was a kid.
That's the first I've ever heard that.
I became a dog trainer instead. But these are another nice ones. See, like the little dog.
In your mind.
Yeah, my dogs are never that well trained. Show him that little cute guy.
Oh, this guy is really cute.
Free likes the cute one.
He's holding a hat. I know.
I guess he wasn't trained that well if he's holding a hat.
Yeah. That's true. See, that's one of Ray's dogs. This one.
That's right.
I'm just kidding. But
so
yeah,
again,
he's really nice.
Again, all this sort of post 1973 production, a lot of sort of off the wall type ideas and different type of scenes that you could set up and really play with your figures.
Yeah, these are just a lot more, like Ray is saying, different scenes. I mean, for the early Britons, you really wouldn't see, the strong man.
British Empire, red jackets. They did make some civilian sets, but it was very limited. They were basically military. Now, another big field, and again, now this is what lot, Bree?
This is lot 2. Oh, the Circus was lot 386. And this Delhi Durbar is lot 291. And it was made in 2000.
Yeah, these are made in 2000.
This elephant, I love the pink on it. It's all separate pieces, so I'm going to try to carefully lift it over to you.
Sort of hard to hold.
This is a separate piece, but you could see even on the elephant's trunk and all the way down, it's just these little polka dots, and there is such great detail on it. It's just, it even comes down to this little, we'll call them little, bedazzled tassels.
Shut up, bedazzled elephant there. Here's my favorite part. This guy, who is he? The Maharajah of the Buccaneers.
The Maharajah is the technical.
See, this little guy stands back there, and he fans the Maharajah.
See him fanning there, his little pink.
I was thinking I need someone to walk behind me and fan me all the time.
Okay.
That'd be perfect.
Yeah, and I need an elephant to ride in to work on.
Uber elephant. That'd be real nice. Let's call up your Uber elephant and have a little fan. Be real nice. Well, all kidding. This is part of the Delhi Durbar. Delhi Durbar was basically the Indian court, or it was the court of Delhi. Back in colonial India, the king or queen of England was the emperor, empress of India. The last Delhi Durbar they had, I believe, was in 1911. And that was for King George. And he actually was present. And basically, the entire Indian court came to present themselves to their sovereign, King George. And he was presented in coronation robes. King George was traditional king coronation robes that you'll see it. But then all these Indian factions and all their entourages came. And it was just a real sight to behold. So again, sort of another subsection of collectors. There's a lot of collectors that love this whole part of British colonial history, Indian history,
and elephants.
The pageantry was just phenomenal. Could you see being in a parade where there are 200 of these elaborately decorated elephants? And this was, this
gold-encrusted elephant.
This is based on what the Maharajah of Buccaneers elephant actually looked like. So, Britain's was very good, and they'll go back and, it might not be 100% accurate because it is a toy, but, the colors will be very similar. The sculpting will be very similar to what they actually used back there in that coronation.
Yeah, and these guys are not light. Look, I'm not weak, but, they have some weight to them in holding it up. They're not, they're not hollow by any means, so this one isn't. Anyways,
So
he
that
has some weight to it.
That's another one.
So that's our little elephant. And next, we're actually going to move into one of my favorite sets in this sale.
Our little wizard over here.
And this is Merlin in his cave. And in the spirit of Merlin in his cave, which I've been completely inspired by, I'm going to put my little wizard hat
Look at
on.
our wizard here.
And tell you a little story about Merlin. So not only do we have Merlin, but we also have King Arthur and Guinevere and King Arthur and him pulling the sword from the stone.
And these are all from like 2005 period with Britons. Again, they sort of went into this fantasy and they made the round table and a lot of things, but we're focusing on these.
Yes, so basically how the legend goes, because I'm sure some of you have heard about King Arthur and pulling the sword from the stone, is that there was a little town, Merlin, it all starts with Merlin. He was basically, you know, the wise man of the town. He had magical powers, and his magical powers were to see the past and the future. So everyone in the town really looked upon him for all of his knowledge and wisdom. And they went to him because they were in distress, and the king had passed away, and they were looking for a new king. So Merlin cast a spell on this stone that put this sword into the stone, and it was etched with gold lettering that said, "Whoso pulleth out this sword of this stone is the right wise born king of all England."
And that's actually inscribed on the side of the stone here. It's way too small to see, but it's actually
there. So that was inscribed on the sword. After Merlin did that, there were a bunch of different suitors that basically came up and tried to pull the sword out of the stone and weren't able to until Arthur came along and pulled the sword out of the stone, which then he became King Arthur. And he went on to build a castle in Camelot, and his reign, he focused on, you know, taking care of damsels in distress, and they would fight off beasts.
Fighting off beasts?
So
that sounds exciting.
The most interesting part of the legend is that a lot of times this sword is confused with the Excalibur, which...
It's not.
It's not Excalibur. So there's actually another sword that's Excalibur. After King Arthur pulled this sword out of the stone, he built his castle in Camelot, and he went into a lot of vicious battles. In one of his vicious battles, the sword actually broke in half. So when that happened, Merlin knew that was going to happen because he can see into the future. And he was waiting at the Camelot entrance for Arthur. He took him to a misty pond where a lady of the lake came up, and she actually gave him the sword of Excalibur.
That's Excalibur there.
That's Excalibur, and the biggest power that Excalibur sword had, unlike the one in the stone, was that any man or person who held the sword of Excalibur could not be injured. So,
I want a sword like that. How do you get me one of those?
Yeah, so Merlin saw it as a way to protect King Arthur, and he was very well respected by his people, and Merlin was his advisor, they really called him.
It's a beautiful figure. And I heard that while you were hanging out with all this Merlin stuff, you learned a couple things.
Oh yeah, I did. I actually did. So, I learned this from Merlin just the other day.
What's that?
This is our magical egg.
Magical egg.
It's magical.
Okay.
I'm telling you. Okay?
I believe it.
So, as you can see, there's an egg on the top of this, right?
It's an egg. Nothing in there.
Okay, nothing in there. Okay. We have magic powers, abracadabra, and turn it into a puppy. I know.
Look at that little British puppy in there.
Sorcery.
My goodness, we're gonna have to call you the Great Breedini.
Yes. Watch my magical powers.
That was pretty good.
Yeah, so that's
you
our
are
little,
just a wealth of information and surprises today. I don't know what got into you.
That's our sorcery magic lesson for today. But in all seriousness, this did come from a really awesome magic set. It's German, and it was manufactured by a company called Schultz Mark, and it's called The Little Conjurer. It's from the 1950s. And there are, if you're so inclined, a lot of other little magic tricks in this set, but I just thought that it went well.
Stay tuned. We're going to get a trick a month out of her.
I wouldn't quote him on that.
That was very good.
Okay. So that was our
little... People said we need segments, so this is our magic segment.
This little wizard hat's hot, let me tell you. Okay. So
off of that Wizards of Waverly
that
Place.
Was our,
that was very good.
Merlin,
I learned all kinds of things today. I learned that you know all 50 states.
I do. I think I got them all in there. It's been a couple years since I've been in elementary school.
Should we go to the tape and replay and make sure?
Sure.
I think you got them all. Well, that was fun. All right, where are we at now?
Okay. Next, we're on to...
Oh, okay. We're going on. So that was sort of our basic Britons. There are probably another 7 or 8 different lines of Britons that they produced. The 5,000 series, the 40,000 series. I mean, there's a lot of them. The Collector Club series. So there's a Britain's Collectors Club. They produced a series of figures that are very nice. Oh, and I guess the whole point now being, finally now, it looks like Britain's has a great home. There was a really good group of collectors that now have purchased Britain's. And Britain's has officially moved to New Holland, Ohio, which is just outside of Toledo.
Yes.
And one of their head sculptors, or the guy that really made the best stuff for the last 15, 20 years, Ken Osen, is now firmly in charge of the company. It seems to be well financed by a small little group of collector investors. And it seems like they're going to really sort of try to put Britain's back on a nice track to producing some of the best figures in the world. So it's very exciting news. I think it's going to be good for the whole company. They're going to be producing a lot of nice figures. So I think everything should be good for Britain's for another 20, 30 years at least.
Yes.
So that's
very
good.
Exciting news. So
okay, so also in the South, yay for Britain's.
And also for Merlin, we got carried away there. Merlin and King Arthur are lots 443 and 445. So
if you're following along.
In case you're following along. But yes, we're going to move on to Hocker, which is lot 89.
Yes, and now sort of like in following, companies sort of came in to try to mimic. William Hocker from California, Napa, California, has been producing since I want to say mid-80s. And he, I think, produces by far the best quality Britain's-like toy figure out there. They're just very, very nicely detailed. They're produced on a relatively small number basis, meaning they're generally, no set, there's more than maybe 400 or 500 of them. So it's a relatively small production. They are sort of, if you look at like his monitor figures, you can tell underneath, they're sort of hollow underneath.
Yes,
his version of hollow casting.
Show you that. Yes, you can see it. So this is what Ray's talking about here, this hollow in the middle. It's very kind of difficult to see, but if I hold it right, you can see it. Yeah. And
now again, this is another Indian Army set.
It's the 11th Bengal Lancers. This
11th Bengal. We pulled a lot of the Indian Army. Again, it's very popular. That people like. I think this really pretty. They're nice colors. Again, the style is very, very much like Britain's. And he produced like a lot of things that sort of people would say, well, Britain should have produced, but they never actually did. So great figure, sells very well on the secondary market. Really nice.
And they're known for their red, black, and gold. So they have a red box and then a black and gold label on the top, which we don't have the top of the box sitting right here.
It's over there,
but yes, so that's really, I mean, for me, it really does stand out. Next to the other sets, they do have a beautiful, I like the label of them. So
yeah, I mean, they're really nice. Now this is another nice figure. These are Nicholson miniatures.
Yes.
Okay, now this company, they produced a great figure. It never really took off. They're 54 millimeter figures, beautiful detailing, out of Ohio. And he produced, again, a lot of these smaller manufacturers will produce sets that fill a very specific niche. If you're going to complete your Indian Army procession, and you want everyone in there.
This one's really cool too.
Piper?
I'll show you this one. He's the Piper, and he has his little coat on the side there is really detailed and colorful. So it's a really pretty green.
This set here, I never even heard of these breeds. Who are these guys called again?
These are Nicholson.
No, I know Nicholson.
Nicholson, but
drums
pipes and drums of the 40th Pathans, or the 40 Thieves.
The 40 Thieves.
Thieves. Yes. So they're very
But I mean, look,
neat.
you know, look, like there's a bugle cast in the back. I mean, it's a beautiful figure.
A little writing on the bottom.
Yeah, he marked them.
Too. He marked
most
them
of the
all.
new manufacturers, I shouldn't say most, but a lot. Some didn't mark anything. For example, like the Premier sets, they are just marked with a little sticker. The problem with the sticker is they will fall off. The Nicholsons are marked NM, Nicholson miniatures, but it's the N and the M are sort of one letter with a copyright on there. It's very difficult to see. But most of the new manufacturers are marked in some way on the bases. But a lot of the problem with a lot of the new manufacturers, whereas Britain's has been well researched for 120 years, a lot of these manufacturers that produced after 1973 or so, the only information we have, maybe like their sales list, there are no really good books on the subject. So it's a lot of sort of trial and error. Do they make this? Do they make that? You know, we don't have any definitive reference books on it. But that's what makes a lot of this fun to collect. These are relatively inexpensive type collectibles compared to some of the things that we'll sell, you know, throughout the year.
Yes.
You know, you're generally looking at anywhere from $5 to $20 type figures. But again, I mean,
They're really beautiful
that's
figures.
a beautiful figure for $10.
There's no chipping on them.
It's a big band.
Yes, there's no chipping on them. I really can't tilt this all the way forwards because they're going to spill forwards on me. But they're very shiny, beautiful patina. Once again, minty. They're just really, really nice figures.
That's good. They're pretty set.
Okay, so that
was one of them.
And those Nicholson sets are lots 91 through 95. We just have a couple in the sale. But, okay, so those are the 40 Thieves. Next, we're moving on to a Ducal set, which is lot 99. And this is a West India Regiment band.
All right, pull them out here.
They're kind of difficult to see in their little box. They come in these little foam boxes. A lot of these new sets come in the foam, which
Bree loves when it comes to shipping, because she's the official shipper.
It's nice.
Let me tell you what, she likes when she can put the lid on it and it's out the door.
It's nice.
Look at this. But they're beautiful. I mean, again, beautiful figure. Rivals any figure made from the early 1900s. You know, really the difference is when the figures from the early 1900s were sold as toys. So they produced thousands of them, but thousands of them were destroyed or thrown away. Most of these figures here, they were sold to collectors. So generally what was produced is still around. There is some attrition, but generally, you know, they will be found. They're in nice condition. But, you know, again, it's for people filling a specific niche in their collection. You can really get into some of these other manufacturers and just really build beautiful displays.
Yes. So that was our Ducal.
Another Ducal.
And now
we have a collector that he likes drinking scenes.
This is our final set that we physically have to show you here today.
Here's our little barmaid.
Really nice. Okay, so it's a Colonial Classics.
This is made by Frontline, which is a company out of Hong Kong. But again, they make a beautiful figure.
Oh, she's got her little beer mugs there, her little steins. Very nice. Okay, and these are actually like a full scene. So there's a table with their little mugs on them and a little benches.
Is that cheese on there, or what do they got with their beer there?
They've got, it looks like pie, which
beer
and pie.
I don't know about that one.
And then, yes.
See, and actually they're trying to recruit people for the Colonial Army. They call this the Tun's Tavern, and here you have someone trying to sign up some young recruits.
Yeah, so he's trying to sign up this recruit as he has his little beer stein in his hands there.
No better way to get recruits than to liquor them up.
Have some pie and beer.
I like, this is a different set, but this is like the Tavern Master here.
This is a like actual little bar, and this little guy has his little stein as well.
So again, like with these new manufacturers, you have the ability to sort of create these much more intimate type scenes than figures made earlier will allow you to do. You know, there's a lot of individual type characters.
This little guy is pretty cool too. So like, yeah, he's actually leaning, as Ray was talking about earlier. This guy is leaning on the bar, which is really cool. So
To have his drink.
that's neat.
So I like those figures. So yeah, we have one client that's sort of trying to put together a huge bar scene. So anything that has to do with drinking, he likes.
Yes, so those are really neat. They look nice individually and together. Unfortunately, we couldn't show them to you all set up. But when you do set them up, as you'll see in the auction on Sunday, they look very nice. So speaking of the auction, we do have it on Sunday. Like I said, it starts at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's an online only sale. So in order to bid, you must sign on to liveauctioneers.com. You can type in Old Toy Soldier and Old Toy Soldier auctions and we come right up. So it's over 600 lots. It features everything that we had here to show you today. And
plus a lot more.
Plus a lot more. And you can also scroll down on our Facebook page and we posted a couple links to Live Auctioneers, so you could jump on that way as well. So we hope to see you on Sunday. We'll definitely be here auctioning everything that we have to offer. And also, we would like to note what we have behind us. If you've noticed, we have a little bit of a new set behind us today.
Militaria.
So we've added these two flags, and this red flag to my left is actually a standard of Grenadier Guards, and it has battle.
That has all the battle honors
step
on
back
it.
so I can show you this a little bit. But it actually has battle honors on it, as you can see, and it's a really big flag that you're only seeing a little portion of. It actually on top has a lion that's mounted and a little crown like this, so it's really in its gold. And then it has these little tassels. So
and this one was made after the Gulf War. So you have the Gulf War in '91. These are all battles that the Grenadiers have fought in. Going back, it looks like there's one from 1695 to 1991.
Yes, so great office decoration, and it displays very, very well. We have it set up like this for broadcast purposes, but we also have the green one over Ray's shoulder, which is the 2nd Warwickshire, or aka the South Wales Borderers.
Again, beautiful embroidery on here.
And this also has a lion up top that's all featured in gold. And let's see if I can bring this one up just a little bit. It might be a little tricky. But the cool part about this one, I really love, is the flowers. And you can see
little thistles on there.
I can't really pull this one up because of where it is. But there's all this flowering, and it's just a really pretty hunter green, we'll call it. So they're really nice. This one has tassels too.
Now again, we're getting a little bit more into militaria, and these two flags, if famous collector Bill Mealy, he was in Ohio. He sold his collection in the early 90s. But these flags adorned his office. When you went into his office, he had these on either side of his desk. And it really made, as Bill would love to say, a very manly presentation when you went into his office. Cavalry helmets behind him. He had like a Vickers machine gun. Really, it was a beautiful collection.
So you could call this our little homage to Bill Mealy.
Our homage to Mr. Mealy. Yes. Hi, Bill. Hope you're watching.
Thank you. So all of these items that you see, the flags and the helmets, we will have in a future auction under a little militaria section. So definitely, if you're interested, take a look. And these flags come with stands and they poles as well. So we actually have them half. They're shortened right here, but they are double the height that they are.
So they're probably a little over 8 feet high.
Yes, they're pretty high. But you can put them in half if you want to set them up like this, if you don't have that.
As Bill Mealy would like me to say, he had a very manly office. It was about 20 feet tall. I mean, it was an office of offices, I will say that.
That's awesome. Well, but yeah, so those are our flags, in case you're checking them out behind us the whole broadcast. And in addition to that, we would actually like to welcome a new squad member.
Yes.
Mr. Greg Kempton. So thanks for joining the squad, Greg. He's our new cataloger and shipper, and we are thrilled that he is now officially a member of the squad.
He did an excellent job, and he's going to be shipping out the second half of Sunday's auction. Cataloging it, and he'll be shipping it out. So welcome to us, Greg.
Yes, welcome,
Greg.
Thank
you for the work.
Thank you. And I think that's all we had as far as soldiers go. Exciting news. Our next RSL toy and bank auction is going to be March 18th and 19th. And it features the Jim Rochla collection. And
a great premier collection.
Our catalogs are just in. Very cool.
Look at those colors.
Little.
We're shaking it up for spring.
Yes. Spring shake up. So these are our RSL catalogs. They are going in the mail literally within the next day or so.
Well, half of them went out yesterday.
Half of them went out. So yes, you should be receiving some of these soon. If you haven't, you can jump on the website and look. It's also online on Live Auctioneers. Type in RSL Auctions. And following that, we have another soldier sale that features Norman Joplin's non-military and civilian collection on April 7th, 8th, and 9th. So that is not yet up online, but look for it. It's a 3-day sale. Beautiful, beautiful collection. Highly recommend it. It's right up my alley. There's a lot of really nice
lots of
figures,
little cute things for
little
free to
cute
play with.
things.
Like lots of little cats and dogs.
So it's I really like
comic
it.
characters.
So definitely look out for Norman Joplin's collection.
Any marsupials in there?
There might be some marsupials. You never know.
That's for
we
Scott.
might have to ask Mr. Scott.
That's for Scott.
But and then following that, really, our next auction is in June. So we have another 3-day soldier sale, June 16th, 17th, and 18th, I believe. And that will feature a bunch of different manufacturers as well. And also the Ray Harridan Winter Catalog Toys of Yesteryear is available on raytoys.com. So there's still items in there. If you haven't seen that yet, we can definitely send you that as well. And our February magazine for Old Toy Soldier was mailed out this week as well. So you should be receiving this soon if you're a subscriber. And
if you aren't, you should subscribe.
If you're not, definitely subscribe. It starts at $36 for a US subscription 4 times a year. You can jump on oldtoysoldier.com. And with that, that's all we had today. So happy bidding this Sunday. We will see
that went
you.
Quick.
It did. So happy bidding, and we'll see you on Sunday at 10 a.m.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks
for watching. See you soon.